Hey guys, what's up? It's Chaos here. I'm back here with another one, another album review. Like always, you already know what this is. This is album review number 27, Pestilence Consuming Impulse. Now, with that being said, I like to start off to say that this is a really cool classic death metal band. Especially this album. It's this album came out in the 80s, I think almost 90s. I'd have to scroll down and read my script, but I like the vocal style they're really doing, and the guitars are really cool. It's some good classic death metal. Now, with that being said, let's go into the first song off of this album called Dehydrated. Now, I'm gonna just start out and say and already give my personal number rating. My personal number rating of this song is a 9 out of 10. It's my favorite song off of this album, even though it probably won't add up when I talk about another song, but it is my favorite song necessarily. Now let's get into the meaning of dehydrated. Now, necessarily, the meaning of dehydrated is you're out in a desert and you're dehydrated, you're hallucinating, and you're going to die. No food, no water, you're walking, you're exhausted, etc. You already know how it is. Essentially, with that being said, it's pretty simple. It's you can read the lyrics and clearly tell the meaning out of it. There's nothing too special about it. Even though the intro to this necessarily for me feels kind of brutal, at least the vocal style. That's probably why it's my favorite song off of this album necessarily. Even though I give it a 9 out of 10, and there's another song on here that I give a 10 out of 10, which is Out of the Body. But of course, it's gonna be a 10 out of 10. It's Out of the Body. Other than that, those are my personal thoughts about Dehydrated and my personal number rating of Dehydrated. With all of this being said, let's go into the next song, which is called The Process of Suffocation. The meaning of this song I have found to be is that humanity, we are essentially killing ourselves through pollution and the terrible things that we're doing to this earth. The process of suffocation. Essentially, when you're being suffocated, you slowly die. Your oxygen gets depleted, slowly. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We are slowly killing the earth, reducing our lifespan by the terrible things we are doing to our Mother Earth, essentially. That's basically the meaning of this song. It's a little bit more in depth, necessarily, than Dehydrated. But fairly simple, fairly easy to understand and read if you read the lyrics. Now, it's really hard to find the actual meaning of any of these songs, so I just read the lyrics, and basically all of these are my own interpretation. Now, with that being said, the number rating that I'm gonna give the Process of Suffocation is an 8 out of 10. Pretty good, pretty decent, I like to say myself. Other than that, let's go into the next song called The Trauma. Now, it's the meaning of this song is also fairly simple. This is a soldier coming home from war, having PTSD and etc. You already know how it is, and he's having these night terrors. These terrible night terrors. I'm pretty sure almost everybody knows what a night terror is. It's terrible, and this is true. A lot of the times these can last for years on end, 20 years even. I know I've known people like that, and my dad was in Vietnam, but other than that, that's basically the meaning of The Trauma. My honest number rating of this is it's fair, it's decent, it's a 7 out of 10. Personally, I like it. I like the intro of the song, but honestly, with that being said, let's go into the next song, Out of the Fucking Body. Out of the Body. You already know what this is. 10 out of 10. Basically, you already know the rating of this song, like I said earlier. Other than that, this is about being possessed, sort of, with demons inside of you taking control over you. You can't do anything about it necessarily. You're basically screwed, you're basically fucked, etc. You already know how it is. That's basically the meaning of it, and you can't do anything about it, sadly. It really screws with you, rips and tears out you. Either way, my number rating, like I said, I clearly stated before, is a 10 out of 10. It's a pretty catchy song, honestly, and it's like their not favorite, but most famous, most popular song of all time. Overall, this whole album, to me, is necessarily a gem, But with that being said, let's go into the next song, Reduced to Ashes. The meaning of this last song I really have found out to be is basically during the Middle Ages, where you would get tortured for blasphemy or just a bunch of stupid dumb stuff, reduced to ashes eventually. essentially, this for being a witch, this song basically describes more in depth the methods of torture necessarily. But I really do enjoy the intro. A lot of these intros I really like. That's what really catches you. That's what this album really did on Consuming Impulse. They really just got to fucking catch you, you know. This is probably why it's one of their most famous albums, because the intros, you know, and a lot of music, you know, essentially you gotta have some kind of catcher, you know, that draws people in necessarily, not just with the art or the name, but the way it sounds, the way it is necessarily. But with that being said, I like to give this song an 8 out of 10. You know, it's a really good song. I love the intro. I like basically every single not album, but every single song off of this album necessarily, you know. And then there's some pictures of the band. But other than that being said, this is the last song I've been going over. So I'll just get into some of the extra information about this heavy ass awesome classic death metal album. Now, this awesome album necessarily came out in 1989, right before the 90s, 1 year before. A long time ago, really, necessarily, to think about it. You know, people still like this band, people still listen to this band, you know. And I think recently, a couple years ago, or this year, they actually made another album or something. It's cool to see old school bands like this keep going and keep going strong, you know. You know what I'm saying? I honestly, I think this band's highly underrated, you know. I think everybody needs some good classic death metal, no matter who you are, you know. At least some classic death metal, at least some early death metal, modern death metal, you know. Other than that, I'd highly recommend this album for somebody to listen to, especially who's starting out after like getting into Iron Maiden and some thrash and etc. Metallica, and if they want to get into something a little bit more heavier, a little bit more interesting, I'd recommend this band. You know, I'd probably recommend Pestilence, then Death, and then Possessed necessarily, you know. It's a really cool band, essentially, to me, you know. And I'm probably going to be reviewing more albums, of course, by Pestilence, you know, but this is my favorite album so far, which is probably much expected, you know. I heard that this is their most famous album, of course, because Out of the Body, but not just that. They have a lot of cool songs off of this album, necessarily, that I really like, necessarily, even though Out of the Body is not my favorite, but I did give it 10 out of 10. Other than that, you know, make sure to always have a good one. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys like listening to me, like watching. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed. Always make sure to stay positive. I'm gonna have a couple links in the description to me and Luke's Discord server necessarily, and he's supposed to have an album review out for tomorrow also on my YouTube channel. Not just that, make sure to have a good one, you know. Stay positive. Like I've said before, like I've been repeating myself, but like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you like, tell me what you enjoyed, tell me what I could do necessarily better to make it more interesting, what albums you want to see, certain things you would like me to do, what I could do, what I could even do better necessarily, you know. I'm flipping through the slides one more time, sorry about that. But make sure to have a good one. It's been chaos.